EBL, they are on X. Manchester United have got no left winger, no long-term number 6, no left-sided centre-half that can play in a back 4 because of Ruben Amorim's idea. Also overstacked with number 10s, but short on number 8s. If he leaves, the club will have to spend a lot of money to go back to a back 4. Big issues. And you know what? It's true. I feel like we're in a bit of a halfway house at the moment with United because they've not fully committed to Amorim. And if they get rid of Amorim, where they might have to because they haven't fully committed to him, that problem presents itself as well. And I think it's a great point. I think it's one many of you have mentioned before. But look, I think that there is this hope and belief, and I have it as well, that we might go and buy a midfielder in January. But I sort of look at it and go, who's that going to be? The club made a decision in the summer that we didn't need to do it. Now, I don't for 1 minute think Ruben Amorim was sat there going, we don't need a midfielder. I think he did want a midfielder, but I think the club decided against it. Now, that might have been financial pressure. That could have been Omar Barada saying we haven't got any money. Could have been Jason Wilcox and Ruben Amorim saying we need a midfielder. We don't know the detail because they don't talk. They just don't talk. But the reality is, in the final 2 days of the window, we tried to get Conor Gallagher. 2 weeks before that, we tried to get Carlos Baleba. We ended up with nothing. They made a mistake. They need to own that mistake. We are definitively short in that area, and we've made a massive mistake, and we're not going to resolve that mistake in January based on the fees for the players that we want to go for. And also, we're very unlikely to go for stopgaps. I mean, the stopgaps were there. Paulinho from Bayern Munich is doing a great job at Spurs, and they don't even need a midfielder. And Man United could have done that. So I think, from what we've heard from people like Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein, Ben Jacobs, Rob Dawson, even last week, we've heard that it wasn't Amorim's decision to not buy a midfielder. Now, we're probably never going to get the clarity on whose decision it was, but it's a big mistake. And if things go tits up and Amorim gets the sack, then I would agree with that. We haven't got any wingers. We haven't got any long-term midfielders. It would be very, very difficult for a new manager to come in anyway, regardless. It's a very, very difficult job. Even if you went and got someone who plays a 3-4-3, they still need players. But if we go back to a 4-3-3, you could argue we need more players. I mean, this is just tremendously brilliant vision by whoever, put this plan in place, isn't it? Let's go for a 3-4-3 coach and half do a job, so that if we need to sack him, we've got to do a massive job to go back to a 4-3-3 or keep spending on the 3-4-3. It's a halfway house. And that's why try and build something if you can't bloody afford it. They've made massive mistakes in the summer that are probably going to hurt us every week this season. And if they are forced into making a change with the manager, you could argue that Amorim probably needs another 300 million to $500 million to spend to make us a challenge. I would argue if we go back to a 4-3-3, you might need a little bit more than that. In fact, you might need a lot more than that, because I don't know where the wingers are coming from to go back to a 4-3-3. So yeah, look, I think it's an error. I think it's a mistake. Give us your thoughts on that one anyway, but unlikely that Man United are going to be buying a midfielder in January. Brighton will want the same fee that they wanted before. Crystal Palace are going to want 70 for Wharton and don't want to do it in January. Even this morning, there's a report coming in, I think it's from the Mail, that Man City are plotting a 75 million bid for Elliot Anderson next summer. Chelsea, Man United also interested. I mean, look, I don't want to add to the conversation, although that's exactly what we're here for. Is this not the problem that I think or some of you agreed with me? Certainly, I remember saying it when we didn't get Baleba. I remember saying the problem we've got here is that everybody had spent their budget. Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, and we went for Baleba right at the end of the window. And I thought the timing of it, and I remember saying this, the timing of this is excellent, because we've actually gone late in the window. We've gone big, and it's a player that a lot of clubs would like. I would argue that he'd be on the radar of PSG, Real Madrid, as well as the top English clubs. And we left it late in the window. And I thought, this is amazing, because we're a club that's finished 15th. We've got a bit of a pull because we're Manchester United, but we don't have Champions League football. It only takes one of Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, PSG, Real Madrid to come in. And that becomes a very difficult deal for us to do. So I was like, this is great. This is a brilliant bit of business because we've left it late. Everyone else has spent their budget. We've got a free run at this. All we've got to do is get the fee done with Brighton. Obviously, we didn't do that. I remember saying, like, well, we've gone from greatness to stupidness here, because when we try and get him next year, everybody knows we want him. Everybody knows Brighton are willing to sell him. And suddenly, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, PSG, Real Madrid, etc., their summer budgets are revitalised. And that becomes a more difficult deal to do. And I think this is really important as well. When you're talking about Wharton, you're talking about Anderson, you're talking about Stiller, you're talking about Baleba. There's 7 or 8 clubs better than us, with better prospects, with the money. It doesn't matter whether there's 4 or 5 good midfield targets next summer. Look, Sesko was option 5 for us, and we did well, but we might not get away with that in the summer. And this is what worries me about the midfield. I think it's a massive mistake.